up in the mountains, my friends, where you can still watch an eagle soar on the wind. And I walk those hills with a smile on my face, and I can't get back to God's saving grace in the mountains.
Welcome back to our Hill to Die On podcast. I am your host, Chase Dowling, and this is what's going on in Forest Hill for the week of July 28th through, the 4th of August of 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some good birthdays this week. As you know, it's kind of a busy time of year, so I'm not going to go into every little detail on the calendar, but real quick, you've got some exciting stuff going on in Forest Hill this week. But before we do that, let's get into this week's Banana Belt weather report. Thanks, Hannah. All right, folks. Hannah sends us another good one here. She says, toe protection is needed again this week for those that are going to be outside touching grass. You might want to put on some flip-flop too. It's going to be a little bit hot on the ground. As of Wednesday, it's going to be bringing sunny skies and highs around 91 degrees, followed by another warm, dry day on Thursday that will be the same temperature, just about. Anyways. Early mornings will still be comfortable, making them the best time to get outside before the afternoon heat builds. The hottest weather of the week arrives to start August, which is typically Forest Hill's hottest month of the year. Friday hits a high of 95, Saturday climbs to 96, and Sunday is our hottest day, reaching all the way up to 98. Son of a gun. If you're planning to spend time on the river or the lake, start early. Pack plenty of water, and be prepared for hot afternoons. Even the high country up in French Meadows will see hotter than normal temps this weekend. Monday is expected to top out around 97 degrees, as is Tuesday. So, overnight lows this entire week will remain in the low 70s, offering little relief after sunset. Keep a fan on in the bedroom overnight, and make sure your pets are staying as hydrated as you are. Got to get them, mini bowls, fresh water, cold water, dump out the little bowl. It's like, I'm wasting water. No, it's just get them fresh water. You wouldn't drink that hot water sitting out in the sun, folks. Allergy conditions are going to moderate this week, with grass pollen continuing to decline, but weed pollen, dust, and dry vegetation are becoming the primary triggers because, it's freaking middle of damn summer and everything's drying out. So a lot of dust particulates in the air and the weed pollen and all that stuff. So just, blow your nose a little bit. Well, actually, you know what? Don't blow your nose, because then that exposed blood vessels gives you more of a stuffy nose. Wipe your nose. Do that. But don't wipe it on your friends. Maybe wipe it on your friend's back. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, that's this week's Banana Belt weather report. All right, folks, we're going to get right into this week's calendar. So, just a couple things to mention. There is a special board meeting Wednesday night. That's tonight when this podcast comes out. That's right. Wednesday night, the 29th at 6 p.m. at the Forest Hill Admin Fire Station. Forest Hill Fire Station Admin Office right there next to Brewmasters. So, if you want to come and check to see what that's all about, we're going to be talking about the grand jury reports and our response to them. So, if you want to get out and check out a meeting, that'll be the one to go to. Library story time on Thursdays. There's Foothills Farmers Market on Saturdays down in Auburn, because we still have yet to have one here in Forest Hill yet, but we're working on it. But the big kicker this weekend, too bad it's going to be hotter than Blue Blazes out there, is the Tevis Cup. That's right. The Tevis Cup going on. Horses are going to be coming through town. Clippity clop, clippity clop. Look at my hooves. That's right. They're going to be trotting through town. I think they leave at 5 o'clock from Squaw Valley. Sorry, Olympic Valley or Olympic Village, whatever it is up there. Yeah, anyway, then they'll be coming through here about, what is it, like from 4 o'clock to like 8 o'clock or something like that. 9 o'clock is when you'll start seeing people, when their riders will be coming through. So get up if you want to see some incredible feats of animal endurance. Come up and watch them as they trot through town. I hope as many people show up and turn out for the Tevis as they did the 100-mile endurance run this year. So the Western States run. So it's going to be fancy. Going to be a good time there. Also, I think that's about it. Everybody's in. It's got breakfast going on. Transfer station's open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't forget that. Friday through Monday. Closed 11:30 to noon. Just saying, folks, if you don't know, well, now you know. Also, birthdays. Here we go. We got Angela Lockhart and Lynn Marie McCall. She's turning 7. Lynn McCall, you're turning 75. You don't look a day over 30, girl. You know it. And let's see. Who else has got a third state? Michelle Mason Skiles, also known as Taz, friend of the show. Who else has got a birthday? Oh, Lisa Larcher and Braden Durand is turning 22. Braden Durand, you're turning 22. By God, turning into a man right before our eyes. He is a man for all men. That's right. And as I like to say, happy birthday from all of us to you. We wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Olay. And folks, if you want somebody else, like I always say, if you want somebody else that, to make sure their birthday gets shout out, just comment down here in the little comment section. Say, hey, this person's birthday's coming up. They'd like a shout out. Or say, hey, you missed this person. And you give them a shout out on the show already, because you get it into the comment section. Anyways, that's going to bring us to this week's Outdoor Report. All right, folks, got another good outdoor report here this week. The full moon makes a reappearance tonight. That is Wednesday night. We call this particular moon the full, or the buck moon. The buck moon. It gets its names because this is the time of year when bucks begin growing their new antlers. They've already started doing that. Yeah. Their antlers are covered in a soft, fuzzy velvet layer while they are growing, and later in the summer, they'll harden in preparation for the fall breeding season. Yeah, that's right. Archery season for deer is also quickly approaching in the next couple of weeks, so the name is extra appropriate. Then, this Saturday, one of Forest Hill biggest events is making its annual comeback. This year is the 70th anniversary of the Tevis Cup horse race. Forest Hill also sits at mile 70 of the ride. So 70-70, let's go, baby. This event was inspired by local horseman Wendell Roby. He wanted to prove that a horse could travel the historic Western States Trail from Lake Tahoe area to Auburn in a single day, just as miners, settlers, and mail carriers once did. That challenge eventually became the Tevis Cup and is now considered the event that helped establish modern endurance riding in North America. It's also one of the toughest endurance rides in the world. Riders and their horses cover over 100 miles in under 24 hours, beginning in Truckee. The route moves over the Sierra Crest, through the Granite Chief Wilderness, and across high mountain meadows, down the canyon of the Middle Fork of the American River, through Forest Hill, and finishes in Auburn. The Tevis Cup often falls on a full moon weekend, which is intentional. The ride continues through the night, and the extra moonlight helps illuminate the trail for the riders during the final hours of the event. When these athletes arrive in Forest Hill, each horse receives a mandatory rest. Veterinarians examine each horse's heart rate, hydration, soundness, and overall condition. Riders can eat, rest, and meet with their crews before tackling the final and still very challenging 30 miles to Auburn, also known as the Canyons. Around half of the riders who start won't finish, making every Tevis buckle a hard-earned badge of honor. Ask Tina Sinetos about that. Even though she runs it. She doesn't need a horse, right? Because she's, Robert just jumps on her back and rides her all the way. Anyways, I'm just saying. It happens that way, okay? Oh, heck, where'd I leave? Yeah. The Hagen Cup is awarded to a horse judged to be in the best overall condition among the top finishers. This is an achievement in itself because it recognizes exceptional horsemanship and horse care. If you're heading out to watch the Tevis Cup this year, keep an eye out for two local names that are famous in the endurance racing game. Heather and Jeremy Reynolds from Greenwood, this husband and wife duo, are both back on the trail this year. Heather returns as a defending Tevis Cup champion aboard her horse, Supersonic Zell. Let's go. While her husband, Jeremy, will once again partner with the legendary mare, Treasured Moments. Treasure is one of the most accomplished horses in the Tevis history and is entered in pursuit of her 7th Tevis buckle. Together, Jeremy and Heather have also accumulated 5 Hagen Cup awards and more than 50 career 100-mile endurance wins across their careers. That's pretty dang impressive. So this Saturday, find a spot along the route, cheer on the riders and their endurance and their incredible horses, and take a moment to appreciate that one of the world's most legendary endurance events passes right through our little town. Whether you're a lifelong horse enthusiast or you've never watched it before, the Tevis Cup is something every Forest Hill resident should experience at least once. And good luck to all this year's riders. Also, just a little hint, I like to go sit right out in front of Forest Hill Farms because they got ice cream, they got milkshakes and stuff like that. They will be open. So, great place to watch the horses come through. Also, another great place to watch the horses come through. If you don't want a milkshake and you want something a little stronger, you can go to the Mountain Club and have a little drink. As inside, you can leave your drink inside and go out, watch a horse come through. Just saying. A couple places you can. I don't know if Happy Mouth will be open, but they have a front porch as well. I hope they're open. And they turn before you get to Brewmaster, so I don't know what to tell you there. But Forest Hill Farms, like I said, last year they got seats out front. They got a little porch and a bench, and then they got also some cornhole on the side. If you want to kill some time, wait for some horses to come through. Not a bad way to do it. Just saying. All right, by God. Dang phone overheats. And when the dang phone overheats, it quits recording, apparently. So now I got to get into the shade with the dang tomatoes. So, just to finish out that segment, big shout out to Estelle Maxwell. That's right, Essie Maxwell used to live in Forest Hill, completed the Tevis Cup last year. I don't see her as an entrant this year, but, hey, it's good to shout out people that are local that do this stuff, Let's go. So, that's this week's Outdoor Report. All right, folks. So you already know that we got the Tevis Cup in town and all that good stuff. You see the calendar, like always, going around. So now we're going to get into this week's thoughts for the shitter. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this week's thoughts for the shitter has to deal with our dollar. Have you ever noticed how much you're making these days? I mean, most people make, what's minimum wage at in California? $15 an hour or something like that. And fast food people are making, $20 an hour to take your order at a gas station. And you wonder why this is, because the more money we're making, it doesn't seem like our dollar's going any further. Of course, we are $39 trillion in national debt. So that's a big deal. So I got to looking at some things and I started doing some research and found out, does anybody know what gold was in 1971 before we went off the gold standard into our current fiat currency mode. Well, gold was $35 an ounce. Today, it's ranging anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 an ounce, depending on the day. Sometimes $3,500 could be even has gone down to, but then gone back up. So, we're roughly right around $4,000 an ounce. The median household income in 1971 was $142 a week. Okay, so and an ounce of gold was 35. So you were getting 4.5 ounces of gold, 4.5 ounces of gold a week, 4.5 ounces of gold a week. Today, we're getting a fraction of gold per week for our median household income. We could buy maybe a half an ounce of gold. For some people, if they're lucky, if you're making a half an ounce of gold a week, you're making, $2,000 a week. That's pretty good money. But just imagine, and you wonder why only one person used to have to go to work, usually own their home by the time that they were 35 or 40. Usually own their own home by the time they were 30, really. So we had basically what I'm trying to get at, folks, is our dollar was worth a lot dang more, and today our dollar's not worth nothing. Our dollar is worth, what is our dollar? Our dollar is not even based on anything. It's not based on currency. It's based on, or not even based on gold or anything else like that. It's not based on anything physical. It's based on what basically labor is worth in the United States. And you can already tell what labor's worth because $20 an hour, this is the other thing. They keep driving up the minimum wage, which keeps pushing inflation higher, when really we just need to, how do I say this? We need to just value the things that are valuable. And we need to get off the dang fiat currency and back to the gold standard, which would be really good. And maybe get rid of the Federal Reserve. Might be a good thing. I don't know, folks. It's just something to ponder while you're dropping them off down yonder. You sit here, you work your whole life, you're working your butt off, and then you got to find things to do. So you start growing a garden because, well, by God, vegetables are really expensive at the store. You start looking into beef cattle, well, because beef's good and that's expensive at the store. And currency just ain't what it used to be. Maybe we'll all be gold miners. Maybe you can go find an ounce of gold a week. That's $4,000 a week. If you could do that, might be worth time to take a trip down to the river again. Go get you a claim. Don't be jumping my claim, though, by God. Anyways, folks, that's going to lead us into this week's Sasquatch Stories. All right. Imagine hiking through the Sierra foothills and discovering a hand carved into solid rocks from thousands of years ago. At first glance, it looks ordinary until you count the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So if you've noticed, some of the petroglyphs around here have 6 hands, or 6 fingers on one hand, or what appears to be a hand. Maybe it's not a hand. Just saying. Many of archaeologists have documented ancient rock art that appears to depict the 6-fingered hand. We know these carvings exist. What we don't know is exactly what it meant. And some researchers believe they may have represented people born with a polydactyl, which is 6 fingers, a real genetic condition that produces extra fingers or toes. Others believe the 6th finger may have been a symbolic or held ceremonial importance. The truth is, no one knows for certain. But the mystery becomes even more interesting when you open the Bible. That's right. In 2 Samuel 21:20, we're told of a giant warrior from Gath who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, coming to, 24 digits in all. The Bible identified him as one of the descendants of giants known as Rephaim. Earlier in Genesis, another mysterious group called the nephilim is briefly mentioned before the flood. And also, if you look into the book of Enoch, right, they talk a lot about giants and the nephilim and everything like that. But the book of Enoch was left out of the Bible because they said, oh, they can't confirm or deny most of that stuff. But these were, look at the glare on that darn thing. Oh, well, that's worse. That's better. Nope, we're looking. Okay, we're just going to leave it there. Anyway, because they couldn't verify it. But not a lot of stuff they can verify. Just saying. Don't know necessarily why they left it out. Of course, some versions of it are still read today in Ethiopia and things of that nature. So just saying. Whether the Nephilim and later giants are connected has been debated by theologians for centuries. Now add one more layer to the puzzle. Long before anyone coined the name Bigfoot, Native American tribes across North America were already telling stories of giant beings, wild mountain men, and mysterious creatures living beyond the edge of civilization. Every tribe had its own traditions, and they were not all describing the same thing, but the stories were widespread. So, are these separate pieces of history? Don't know. A genetic condition carved into stone? Possibly. Ancient symbolism? Maybe. Biblical giants? Possibly. Or are we simply connecting stories that were never connected? Also possible. I don't have the answer, and neither does anyone else, but I do know this. The mystery of giants didn't begin with famous footprints at Bluff Creek in Northern California. No. It began thousands of years earlier, carved into stone, preserved in ancient stories, and written into one of the oldest books ever recorded. So, with that said, folks, what I'm trying to get at, there we go. What I'm trying to get at is, now this is a bit of a stretch, and granted, I am doing a little bit of this tongue-in-cheek, but it's something neat to think about, because when you go look at some of these old ancient petroglyphs from 4,000 years ago from the Martis people, right? Or what they say claim to be, maybe it was pre-Martis. We don't even know. But there are some petroglyphs with six fingers. That's right. And you sit there and you go, well, it's not a bear. Bear's got 5. Humans got 5. Everything else has 5. Why does this one have 6? And then you read that story. Of course, up in our area, too, it's supposed to be one of the hotbeds for Bigfoot activity or Sasquatch activity, right? And then you hear about giants having 6 fingers in the Bible. Could these just be giants that we're seeing these days, folks? I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I do want to get your mind going a little bit. Maybe you had a laugh. Possible. But maybe it's true. Everything's possible. Just something to think about. But if you don't know, now you know. All right, ladies and gentlemen. See, Bigfoot has been around a lot longer than you think. Maybe all the way back to the Bible. Just saying. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good week. I hope you get up into town this weekend, go by Forest Hill Farms, get a shake, get a little bit of ice cream, sit on their front porch, watch the horses come through. It's a good time. The kids will enjoy it. And if you don't want to do that, I'm sure Robert will be riding Tina around somewhere. Yeehaw! Get after it, old son. And without further ado, we're going to get to this week's Robert Francis joke of the week. And this one goes like this here. It says, a pirate walks into a bar. And the bartender notices him and goes, hey, you got what appears to be a steering wheel in your pants? The pirate says, aye. Or, well, maybe not aye. More like an R. Yeah. It's been driving me nuts. Everybody, I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good weekend. And we'll be seeing you on the next one.
Come ride with me. It's time to saddle up, ride away. There's so much to see. Don't worry, I know the trails, I know the